through something totally different than everything we just talked about. Because I've received different messages from people about how to do this. So let's go over Pails and Rails. Pails and Rails, students, do you know what Pails and Rails stand for?
Nope.
No.
Okay. Progressive angular isometric loading and regressive angular isometric loading. They can be used in a variety of different sites. I primarily use them in shoulders and hips for more rotational based movements. It is essentially a form of PNF stretching. It's just a series of contract, relax movements. It just has a fancy name. It is like the magic trick that you can show patients because like everyone gets better when you do it, like from a short-term perspective. And I use it as more of a movement facilitation technique. So who here, besides me, has absolutely horrible either internal or external rotation?
Hip or shoulder?
Hip or shoulder.
Yeah, mine hips there.
Let's do Trav. Trav. So let's go. Where do you want to go?
Hips good.
Let's go to table.
Okay, let's go.
Let's kind of do you have American Eagle jeans on?
I did.
Perfect. So, which side is typically worse?
My right side.
Okay. So, we are going to assess his left side first.
I have more pain in my left side, but I have less mobility in my right side.
Okay. So we're just going to do a gross movement test. We're not going to do anything fancy here. Good. Any pain?
Nope.
Good.
Pain.
Where? Okay. Then we're going to relax here. We're going to go down. We're going to come up. Any pain?
Nope. There.
You said less pain typically on this side, right? Okay, so we'll do this side for now. Did anyone want to see it again in terms of his resting? Everyone have like a general idea where we're at? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a series of contract relax exercises. The cool thing about this is that there's no like set protocol. I am very particular about the way I do it just because I've always done it this way. But it's something that I've done because it seems to work the best out of the different methods that I've tried. Okay, but there are a lot of different patterns that you can utilize. So typically, if I want to increase his internal rotation primarily, that's going to be my goal for you. Okay, I'm going to bring him up. I'm going to go to his end range, right there. So, not forced end range. Okay. So right about here is where I feel resistance. Okay, I'm going to back off a little bit, and what I want you to do is bring your foot that way in the external rotation. Go for it. So he's not giving me max force, he's giving me some maximal force. I'm going to hold for, I typically hold for about 8 to 10 seconds. Feel okay? Good, relax. I'm going to bring your foot in a little bit more. Right here, same deal. Ready? I just made eye contact with my hand. That's weird. X-ray photo. And then relax. We're going to bring it in a little bit more. Right there. Ready? Good. I typically start by meeting his force. As we go more and more into it, I tend to start to beat his force. Ready? Go for it. Where do you feel?
That's what muscles work.
Okay. And I'm going to continue to go until we're essentially at his end range external. Okay? So I want you to hold that. Ready? Go. And I think we can get one more out of it. So we're going to go, yeah, right there. So hold your leg there. Ready? Go for it. Good. Now you're going to do the opposite. Okay? So you're going to bring your foot into my hand. Go for it. So then we're going to work back the opposite way. So we're doing resisted internal. Good. And relax. Here. Relax. Here. Making sure when they're doing it, you are getting rotation, not abduction, not adduction. So you are actually trying to get rotation from the hip. Good. Ready? Good. One more. Hold. Good. In. Out. In. Out. And relax. cool trick. So you can do that until he's like a pretzel. But that's essentially, you would go there. It's a different story if somebody has a bony block. Typically, you'll still be able to get a few degrees of extra motion, but it's if you're looking at like a cam or pincer like actual block, that's a different story. I mean, you don't want to break through bone to do that. You probably could, but you don't want to. But typically, even with those hip shapes, like even if somebody has like a heavily anteverted hip, you'll still be able to get a few extra degrees of range of motion, which is typically all people need. Okay? I might do that again, just like the one where we did the thoracic. I'm going to do that until I stop seeing improvements, or if I can still improve, but he's like, yeah, it's just pain at this point. That's not range of motion you want. So I'm going to stop there. Okay? We might do that typically like 3 or 4 times. I'll have him go on the floor. If we're trying to get activation out of those newly stretched muscles, we might do shin box. We might do something easier. We might do a fire hydrant. Thank you. Like on all fours, lifting your legs up, just trying to get activation through the hip abductors. Whatever you're trying to go for. But typically, it's not something you do and then walk away and be like, all right, congratulations. You have newfound hip mobility. Because it will go away in a few hours, just like any type of stretch, unless you actively use it. And it's just that like rubber band strategy. You keep doing it, you keep giving them exercise to facilitate it. Every time you do it, it should be a little better. If it doesn't get a little better every time you do it, you're wasting your time, you're wasting their time. But it's something that I found to have a lot of positive results. And
Sorry.
No.
So home protocol.
Yep.
Hey, do this breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or do it 10 times a day, or do it once a day.
I might say as often as possible.
Okay.
So I'd say, I'll say something really dramatic, like every hour. So if they do it 4 times, I'd be really happy with it. But yeah, so it's when you have new mobility, you want to utilize it as much as possible, especially if you're not doing any type of like weighted movements with it. Just get your body used to it. So I literally might tell them every hour.
In terms of like patients that use this on, like, is there anything that would prevent you, like age or anything in there?
It would change my intensity from a resistance standpoint. I've done this with post-op total hip patients, not to the same extreme. I'm not going to go to the very end range and do like max effort pressure. But a lot of times you might have somebody who's like, I struggle just doing this, especially like when they're 8 months out or 7 months out, and they're able to do something like that. So you just might need a little bit of soft tissue release to do that. So yeah, but there's no set contraindication in terms of who you do it with. It's just it's a common sense intensity gauge. Make sense? And then likewise, just like you're doing it for the hip, do the same thing for the shoulder. So for the shoulder, it's pretty much the exact same thing. It works very well. It's typically not as comfortable. It kind of sucks having it done to you, but it's a really good way to get internal or external rotation.
So there's no way to do the Pails and Rails stuff at home. But
You can. It's not as you absolutely can. There's a few different ways that I've seen and I've given to people. It's if somebody has a more effective way, I'm all ears. But I've never found something that was as effective as that. And I hate saying that because I'm somebody who if I can do something manually, I try to find something just as appropriate from a self perspective. You can definitely do sitting in this position, lifting up, giving yourself a little bit of pressure, going down, giving yourself a little pressure, and then the same thing on this side. It's effective to an extent. You can do a figure 4, do the same thing, press up this way, press down that way as you go in, and then as you go out. Or you can do one where you're against you could be in a stool against a doorway, pressing in and then pressing out. That typically is the most similar, I would say, the one by the doorway, but none of them really seem to have the same effect, just as like that. Make sense?
Yeah.